time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, we're talking about the power of intention, and it's been rumored by our guests. We're talking quantum physics, which I always love when our guests come on and talk about quantum physics. So let's dive right in. Marla Ballard, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for being here. And you just made me sound so much smarter than I can possibly be.
It rubbed off on me because I could pronounce quantum physics. So like, how cool is that, right?
We're doing great. Yeah.
We're already off to an amazing start. I know nothing about quantum physics. And I know, I guess, a little bit about the power of intention, but I want you to educate me. What are we really talking about when you're talking about these two topics that I guess seemingly are very unrelated?
Okay, great. So that's a great question. So, we are a quantum personal development company. And so within that, what that means is that we're combining spirituality with quantum physics and then its practical application. And the most fundamental thing to understand about quantum physics is that everything is energy. And so we are all energy, right? If you break us down into our cells and then the molecules and then the atomic level, and you keep going deeper down into the neutrons, the electrons, and then go down to the level of quarks and all the tiny, tiny, tiny particles, you're eventually going to just hit light. So everything is energy. And so to answer your question about talking about the power of intention, the way that energy works is we first create a conscious thought for something. And then as we create that conscious thought, we're literally putting out a signal, and we're beginning to already start to shift the energy around us as we even begin to shift our awareness or our perception or our intention. Now, the thing that we do talk about a lot is a lot of people in personal development, it's all about mind over matter. What we've discovered is it's very much about heart over mind over matter creates a much bigger quantum leap or quantum shift. Because if you've ever tried to be mind over matter for something that your heart just isn't in, you probably can remember how that went. Yeah. Versus when you really feel that full alignment to something and it's lighting you up, and you feel that love, that joy, that deep alignment, that it's going to feed your soul. And then you create the thoughts and the intention. And then you take the actions that you feel intuitively guided to through that. That's when things happen very powerfully. So that's what we're talking about.
Okay. You didn't lose me yet, which is fantastic. I kept up through that whole track there. I did have this thought though. Okay. I don't know if we want to go here, but actually in line with that, what are thoughts? Like when you say, when you have thoughts, you shift your energy. Mm-hmm. Are thoughts observable? Are they energy? Are we creating something? Are there quarks in our brain that are being manipulated? Like, explain to me what happens here.
Are you being manipulated by aliens? Is that what you're asking me?
This popped in my head while you were talking, and I got very nervous, so I had to get it out there.
No, that's great. And again, I'm not a brain scientist nor am I a quantum physicist. I've just studied a lot of it. But what basically happens is I believe that thoughts are electrical impulses. We do know that we can measure the brain patterns, right? They can go in an EEG and measure the brain patterns. They can measure the brain waves. We know that at different states of consciousness, we actually generate completely different brain waves. A very relaxed brainwave is or meditative brainwave is going to go into an alpha, or even a lot of people are seeking to get into a deep theta brainwave. And that's where your visualization goes up, your imagination goes up. And so we do know they're measurable. So I think of thoughts as electrical impulses or electrical signals that we're sending through the brain. I typically think in terms of energy and feelings as being more magnetic, because if you think about it, I can be thinking I'm not scared, but if everything in my body feels scared, that's going to probably trump the conscious thought of me trying to say that I'm not. And so I tend to think of thoughts as an electrical impulse and a feeling as a magnetic experience, because we tend to actually magnify and attract things to us through how we feel about it. And so that's why the heart over mind over matter.
Yeah, and is that I assume that's what you're really helping people do, is be in more in line with the frequency, the magnetism of what you're putting out there, rather than just the conscious thoughts. So let's dive into that then, because right there, focusing on something, the fear example that you put out,
Mhm.
it's very hard to get that wired into your subconscious. At least for me, if I'm
It is.
not feeling something, but I'm trying to overthink it, like I'm never going to get
Mhm.
there. So
Right.
what is that process? How do you walk people through that?
So you mean when fear is present?
Anything when you're trying to really magnetize and put out that frequency of attracting something,
Mhm.
but your conscious thoughts are not, they're dissonant, right? In any
Right.
form of
Right.
dissonance. How
Gotcha.
do we combine the two?
So I think the first thing to do is very intentionally tune in to what you want or what you're here for. In business, my experience has been when I talk to people who are building businesses and they're seeking to grow a business, everybody that's seeking to make more money or bring something into the world I've talked to thousands of people. They will always tell you they're doing it because they want a better experience for themselves, their family, their community, or they're up to actually trying to change the world, right? Those are the reasons why people actually build businesses,
Hmm.
right? And so the but what happens is sometimes in the doing of everything in the everyday, we get bogged down with frustration, with fear, with rejection, with disappointment, with all those things. But the moment that you will bring your awareness back to the immense gratitude for how far you've come and realign to what it is that you actually are seeking to create in a meaningful way, then you start to generate a very different feeling.
Hmm.
Right? I do things all day long that I've never done before, as do you. And so anytime we go into something we've never done before, our body's like, hey, we've never done this before. It could be scary. We're never going to get away from that, right? That's always going to be present. And what's actually happening is anytime that we're growing and we're seeking to expand our experience, part of that is also wanting to have more joy, more love, more people to share it with, more growth and expansion, which is at an increasingly high vibration energetically. So the moment that I'm at the vibration I'm at, and I'm thinking about doing something that's going to actually have to take me to a higher vibration, my body's naturally going to be afraid of that because it's unknown. It's as yet unknown, right? So it's no different than being the caveman, walking past the cave. Do I want to go in there? It's hardwired into us. So the point of this is recognizing we're all going to have that, but it's how badly do you want that feeling of alignment or that purpose that you're here to serve, the thing that you so want to bring into the world, that you're uniquely here to help support, that you can align to that so you can move through the fear more quickly and take the action.
Okay, so all of this being said, it sounds simple. I know it's
Mhm.
not. I know it's not easy, because look at the
No, it's
business
not.
failure rates, right? Like that, if it
Right.
was simple, we would all do it. So where do we fall off that path? Because I think at the beginning of a business journey, or any venture really, we're all passionate, we're all excited for some reason. Have we identified the wrong reason? Do we lose our passion? Is it something else in the middle? Like what actually happens to cause the eventual failure?
I think a lot of things happen, but at least for the individual, I know that anytime I'm stuck, it's just because I've forgotten who I am. I've gotten beat up maybe a little bit by the world, or things not going the way I wanted them to, or my expectations weren't met, or I got disappointed, or I, put a lot of energy or effort into something that didn't go how I thought it should. Right. And so then we shrink back and we feel kind of diminished. But in that moment, we forget who we really are and who we came here to be, is what I think. I know that's how it is for me. Um, One of my favorite quotes, and I'll probably botch it because I don't have it specifically in front of me, but in her book Prosper Me, Victoria Rader talks about intention and how when you're working with intention, whether you're saying, I have to do this or I get to do this is a game changer. Right? And so that's the thing. There are a lot of parts of our business that we all do every day that the moment, at least I find for me, the moment it conflicts with something I would rather do, suddenly I have to do it. And I forget though that I built this, I created this, I dreamed this, right? I was, envisioning this and pouring so much into it. No, I get to. So even the parts I don't like, I get to do it. And as soon as I remind myself that simple thing, not I have to, but I get to, and it's a privilege, I'm back into the energy of gratitude. And that helps me realign to, wait a minute, I remember again who I am and why I'm here.
Yeah, that language shift is powerful, especially when you're conscious enough to observe it. And you're present, is probably a better word, present enough to observe it. Because we kind of lull ourselves to sleep sometimes by saying have to, need to, versus want to, get to. And the energy that comes with that is drastically different. So when you're talking about operating with intention, can you walk me through how to practically get there for the busy entrepreneur, business owner who's listening to this, probably at the gym, in the car, doing something that they maybe have to do? How do we become present and then ultimately shift our intention?
So I love going back to, just like I said, we like where the rubber meets the road, right? And so just the most basic example was one of my very first things that I learned in business from one of my mentors, and we've all had this experience when you have to make phone calls, right? You've either got to make a sales call or a follow-up call. Everybody's done them. It's very easy to be on autopilot some days, hoping that'll go to voicemail.
Been there. Yes.
Right? Right? Just think about it. It's so basic. And I'll never forget what an epiphany this was in my life when he taught me this. This is probably, going back 17 years ago, an amazing mentor. And he pointed that out. Like, how many times when you're making your sales calls, are you hoping it'll go to voicemail so you don't have to deal with anybody today? And we don't set that consciously, right? It's just the space you're in. And he said, but what if before every call, you really remembered why you're doing it and that you're looking to be of service to the person who's ready to receive it. And your intention was actually not to get a hold of them to try to sell them or close them or do anything, but your intention was to get a hold of them, to get to know them, to add value, to help further what you came here to do. How differently do you think your calls would go? And so I would track my sales calls, right? I used to make a lot, this is in my other company before where I am now. I used to make a lot of them. And I noticed the percentage of how many people answered the phone actually shot up.
Really?
When I started to shift to intentionally want to reach the right people. Mm-hmm. So it's a simple thing with that intention, but it's so powerful when you recognize the difference between being on autopilot, which all of us do it, right? That's part of our human condition, versus really taking a minute to remember, okay, why am I doing this? Who am I serving? What value am I here to add? And then having the intention of that with really no attachment to the outcome. Other than that, I fulfill what I'm here to do.
That's so powerful. I want to go so far deep into the woo right now because I love this stuff. I love having these conversations. I had a similar experience, and they happen every now and then. So I bulk record these episodes on Mondays. I typically have anywhere from 6 to 8 conversations back to back. I'm otherwise unproductive on Mondays. A couple of weeks ago, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love recording these episodes. If you're listening, as you could probably tell.
Get to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It lights me up. I love connecting with other people. I love having these interesting conversations. We're talking quantum physics on a Monday afternoon. Like, come on, is there anything better? But a couple of weeks ago, I had a ton of stuff to get done. I had some other people on my team were waiting for things that only I could uniquely do, unfortunately, and I waited to the last minute because sometimes I procrastinate. Sue me, right? I did not show up with good energy to that Monday morning. And
Yeah.
I think 4 out of the 6 episodes that we're supposed to record ended up canceling or no showing.
Mm-hmm.
Did I put that out into the quantum realm that those people somehow got that energy from me because it was not my normal excited state and they didn't show up? Is that what you're saying?
Well, here's the thing. I want to be real careful that we don't do a blame game, right? Because there's a lot of things out there in the spiritual world where people are saying, oh, whatever experience you're having, it's your fault, you're creating it. I don't believe that either. I don't entirely believe that. Crap happens, right? Like we can't, there's some things that are just beyond our control, and that's putting a lot on us for shame and blame. But I do believe that if my vibration is off, I'm probably not going to attract people that are at a higher vibration that day to interact with. So yeah, I've done exactly, and I've had the exact same experience you're talking about. I don't want to do it. I know somebody's going to cancel.
But then that's a good marker too, because it's like, okay, maybe those people are operating at a higher frequency. So when I'm back to normal, I should reach out to them because they're awesome people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's okay. It's all okay. It's okay to have an off day. We all have them. It's interesting. And I think too, the more that we feel that we connect with each other, the more we can pick up on that as well.
Yeah.
It really will be interesting where you actually start to find out it's a mutual experience in a way. It might be interesting when you call them back and find out they also were having maybe somewhere else they needed to be that day as well. So it's not always done in a vacuum, that's for sure.
Well, this is fascinating. I kind of want to go down this rabbit hole for the rest of the day, but I think we both have other things to do. So do our listeners. Yeah. But it truly is fascinating because in the beginning of the episode, you said you want to bridge the gap between, spiritual and also being practical. Mm-hmm. I think we've very much done that. I'm curious though, with your clients, and I'll ask you this last question before we wrap up. Mm-hmm. What do people typically perceive when you say that? Because spiritual in business, tough for those to go hand in hand.
Sound a little crazy. Yeah.
Everything you said today makes 100% sense. Mm-hmm. and makes me question why more people aren't in tune with that. So what's the typical pushback or feedback that you hear initially from people?
Well, at least for our company, what we really teach is about having faith and trust and aligning to love. Mm-hmm. For each individual person to be who we came here to be. Like you came here with a very set experience, your own DNA, your own familial experiences, your own birth experience, your own growing up, right? Everything. We're each hardwired so differently. And then we have all these different life experiences. I believe that we're each uniquely created to contribute something that can only come uniquely through us. And so the concept here and what we do at You to Shine is we want to help every person really be who they came here to be, that is going to give them joy and fulfillment and be able to shine that light uniquely in the world. From a broader standpoint, if you think about it, if every single one of us, because you can do things I can't do. I may be really good at something, but 99% of things I do, somebody else is going to be way better at it. That's just the way it is. But if we were all able to really be who we came here to be and then leverage each other's gifts, how differently would we collaborate and work together? And how differently would we grow all the things that we're up to individually as well? So that to me is the spiritual piece. It really comes down to love and faith as well. And trusting in that, developing that. And you mentioned perception. There are 6 mental faculties that our programs help people open. Perception is the first one. Because you cannot out-imagine your own self-perception. And that's so important. How we perceive the world will inform so much that we do beyond that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, for those, this was amazing. And thank you so much for coming. For the listeners who do want to explore more, they want to go a little bit deeper, where should they go to learn more about you and learn more about this journey?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, you can go to youtoshine.com. I am the CEO of the company, and so you can find my page through our Empower Me team Academy drop down there. And then also, we have something called mygiftoffer.com that I am so excited that we've been rolling out this year. Within that, you can go to mygiftoffer.com and download a free ebook that in it has the 50 most limiting beliefs we've discovered that people have in business and in life through work with thousands of clients over the years. And then basically a way to quickly release and change and have the antidote to that belief to be more expansive. So we'd love for you guys to check that out, and anything we can do to be of benefit to you, feel free to reach out to me through the website. Would love to hear from anybody, and I'm really grateful to you for today. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I definitely want to go check that out too. The 50 limiting beliefs, that sounds like a lot of fun to check out. So all of those links and that offer, it's on the screen, first of all, if you're watching. If you're listening, though, everything's down below in the show notes or description. So go check that stuff out. You can learn more from Marla. But thank you for listening to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode. And until then, go download. It's in the show notes. We'll see you tomorrow.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in your life and business.